If you've ever tried to outline your novel, gotten halfway through, and felt the life slowly drain out of your story, this video is for you. There's a piece of writing advice that gets repeated so often it starts to feel like law. Outline your novel before you write it. Know your plot points, map your chapters, have a plan. And for a lot of writers, that advice is genuinely useful. But for a lot of other writers, maybe you, it's the exact thing that's been quietly killing your stories before they even begin. Today, we're going to talk about why. Specifically, we're going to look at a different kind of writer, the discovery writer. What makes their process work and how to tell if you might be one. Stick around to the end because I have a short checklist that'll help you figure out which side of the spectrum you naturally fall on. It might explain a lot. First, let's talk about the writing spectrum because this isn't really an either-or situation. On one end, you have plotters, writers who thrive on preparation. They want to know the destination before they leave the house. You feel me? Think of them like a traveler who shows up to the airport with a full itinerary, 3 extra pairs of socks, and a color-coordinated packing list. They find deep comfort in knowing exactly what to expect, and their process genuinely works beautifully for them. And then on the other end, you have discovery writers, also known as intuitive writers, gardeners, or if you spent any time in writing communities, pantsers, as in flying by the seat of your pants. Discovery writers don't plan their story in advance. They figure it out by writing it. This is a different kind of traveler, one who shows up at the airport without a destination in mind. She knows that she wants an adventure. She has a rough sense of the kind of place that she wants to end up, but the exact route, she'll figure that out as she goes. And honestly, she's pretty excited about it. Most writers fall somewhere in between those two extremes. But understanding which end of the spectrum you naturally lean towards, it changes everything about how you approach your writing. So what does discovery writing actually look like in practice? Well, one way to think about this is that discovery writers are like drivers on a foggy road at night. They can't see the whole road. They can only see as far as their headlights reach in front of them. And that's enough to keep moving forward. Each scene they write illuminates the next one. The story reveals itself through the act of writing, not before in a planning phase. This might sound a bit chaotic, and honestly, sometimes it is. Discovery writing can be messier than plotting. It can mean writing scenes that don't end up in the final draft. It can mean hitting a wall around chapter 4 and needing to sit with your story for a while before you know where it wants to go next. But here's what it also means. Genuine surprise. Characters who do things that you did not even expect. Plot turns that feel inevitable in hindsight, but that you could not have planned even if you tried. A story that has real energy in it because you were discovering it at the same time your reader eventually will. And discovery writing is far more common among successful authors than most people realize. That's what editing is for, people. Diana Gabaldon, who's the author of the Outlander series, which spans 8 novels and inspired a long-running television series, has described her writing process as seeing fragments and writing towards them, with research opening up new scenes that she couldn't have anticipated in advance. She didn't outline her way to one of the most beloved historical romantasy series ever written. Pretty cool, huh? Rebecca Kuang, whose debut novel was published when she was just 22 years old, and who went on to write the critically acclaimed novel Babel, has described her first drafts as a chaotic process, no outline, no planning, treating the whole first draft as one giant brainstorming session that only becomes a book by the third or fourth draft. These aren't writers who stumbled into success despite their process. Their process is part of how they found their stories. Now, why does outlining specifically cause problems for discovery writers? Well, because outlining can trick your brain into thinking that you've already told the story. If you're a discovery writer, your excitement about your story lives in that unknown space. The thrill of not knowing what happens next is part of what keeps you writing. When you outline, you answer all the interesting questions before you get to experience discovering them on the page. So by the time you sit down to write, your brain has already moved on. The story feels finished before it's even started. This is why so many discovery writers have a graveyard of outline novels that they never wrote past chapter 2. It's not lack of discipline. It's not lack of talent. It's just a process mismatch. Writing contrary to your natural tendencies makes everything that much harder. It makes writing feel like a slog. Trust me, I know. It's like you're fighting yourself every step of the way. And you end up questioning whether you're even cut out for this, when really you just need a different approach. Okay, here's that checklist I promised. 5 signs you might be a discovery writer. You don't need all 5 to be true. Even 2 or 3 is worth paying attention to. 1, whenever you try to outline, you lose interest in your story. The excitement just evaporates. 2, you do your best thinking while you're writing, not before. The ideas come when your fingers are moving, not when you're staring at a planning document. 3, your characters have surprised you before. You've written a scene and thought, I didn't know she was going to do that, and it really felt right. 4, you prefer to start with a feeling, a scene, or a character, rather than plot structure. And 5, you've started more books than you've finished, not because you're lazy or undisciplined, but because the energy ran out somewhere along the way and you couldn't figure out why. If any of those resonated, welcome. You're in good company. So now you know what discovery writing is, and you have a sense of whether it might be your natural process. But knowing that is one thing. Actually doing it, sitting down and writing a romantasy novel without an outline, is another thing entirely. In the next video, I'm walking you through exactly how I approach writing romantasy without an outline. My actual process, what I do when I start a new story, how I keep momentum when things get foggy, and what I do when I hit a wall. No theory, just the real thing. You can check it out here.